Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now January 2nd of 2025, and given that the entire media and all of Hollywood is in pure panic mode right now, and we all know why, we know a lot of these actors, actresses, producers, directors, writers, and more are really beginning to realize and come to the facts here that their agenda is just going down the toilet. Nobody wants to hear it, nobody wants to see it in either movies, television, video games, books, comics, whatever it may be. Nobody wants to actually see or hear anything related to DEI nonsense. Now, what's interesting here has a lot more to do with a lot of these studios beginning to wake up, at least somewhat, a little turn of the tide here about the current status in the film industry. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, Julia Roberts, we know that she is one of the more insufferable actresses out there that are more in the A-list actor status, right up there with George Clooney and others out there that got way too involved in politics and it backfired on them completely. I don't think they ever saw this coming, to be quite honest with you, but they are dealing with the backlash and the pushback from the public right now, and someone like Julia Roberts is doubling down on her overall agenda with politics. Now, interestingly enough, studios are now beginning to take action, so let's get into this, shall we? Now, we know that Julia Roberts, a couple of days ago, she went against the public. She really got very offended over many of those that are against her view of politics or anything to do with her worldviews. She's very much upset about that. She doesn't quite know how to register with the realization that the majority of the public do not want to hear from celebrities. They don't view celebrities as that important. So with the entire media and even Hollywood going down in financial flames due to the public backlash that came with valid reasons, mind you, one monumental development that is now going on involves actress Julia Roberts in the wake of receiving so much criticism from her political commercial promoting to lie to your spouse based on who you were voting for. A crucial update now involves how Julia Roberts was recently fired and axed from several projects by a major Hollywood studio in a similar fashion, because they're all going down in dominoes, in a similar fashion to what happened with those like Robert De Niro, George Clooney, and even Alec Baldwin. Now, however, this now involves both Universal Studios and Columbia, who recently booted Julia Roberts from a total of 2 romantic comedy films and 1 action film that was also going to star other A-list actors. It turns out that both CEOs of Universal and Columbia, along with its studio executives, are now unwilling to work with Julia Roberts ever again, and Universal, by the way, is starting to actually go from scratch with their 2 upcoming romantic comedy films to star somebody else, with Columbia Pictures and their CEO and studio execs that were just about ready to announce a new sci-fi epic that was going to star Julia Roberts as well, that is now officially no longer going to include her after receiving so much criticism and saying such awful things to the American people. Now, her controversial political commercial was said to be the deal breaker for many of these studios, but there's more to it than just that. Universal CEO and the entire board of directors there are now unwilling to ever work with Julia again for any film lineup in their slate for the rest of the 2020s and beyond, after she was also reportedly being very overly demanding with her pay for the film projects, just like George Clooney, of course, was so unlikable and had that level of being very unlikable, and how that's so strong right now that many studios are beginning to drop actors and or actresses just like her to save their own image, since they now view Roberts as box office poison essentially after becoming so involved with politics and showing no sign of backing down. Now, both Universal and Columbia also made this decision after they pressured Roberts to give up with politics in the public eye. Roberts, get this, refused to do so with the demands coming from both Universal and Columbia. So guys, let me just say one thing about that. It's one thing if you're so involved in politics and the studios don't want to work with you. It's another thing when they are specifically demanding you to drop putting your politics out there onto the public and in the public eye, and you refuse to drop your politics, that's when, well, the studios have to take action, and you really can't complain at that point, because you're really just doing this to yourself. I mean, there's no way that you could blame anybody else. You can't blame the CEOs, you can't blame the studio executives, nor can you blame the board of directors at any studio. Someone like Julia Roberts is doing this to herself. I think that we could all agree with that. Now, one thing about Julia is that I think that rom-coms are really not meant for her anymore. I think that she has to really move on and just put that in the past. Her days of being Pretty Woman are over. She's more Petty Woman right now, because she is very much throwing out petty behavior right now toward the public based on their political opinion. So let's get into this further. So Roberts refused, of course, to do so with the demands coming from Universal and Columbia. However, all of these projects, alright, get this, all together, bundled, alright? So, for example, shockingly, she was supposed to get $28 million for the 2 romantic movies by Universal combined, and another whopping $18 million from Columbia for the sci-fi epic film, which is still happening and set to recast the role, however, that Julie was fired from. All of these projects are aimed to release in 2026 and 27, and are now going to be facing delays, massive delays, since Julia was fired, which left things on a bad note for her after getting axed from those projects. Now, Roberts is the latest Hollywood celebrity to get fired from a major studio or studios in the industry after getting way too involved in politics and refusing to step away from that. Actor Mark Hamill also had a similar type of behavior, such like Roberts, and she is still planning to make more public statements toward those that are opposed to her politics. And by the way, I bring up Mark Hamill because he went on iHeartRadio, I believe it was, where he's like, you know what, I don't care if I lose roles. I don't care about the criticism that I get or the backlash that I get. He even admitted that his own daughter told him to stop it and cut it out. And he still said, well, you know what, I believe in what I'm saying, and I'm not going to stop. This is essentially what Julia Roberts is doing. At the very least, George Clooney has some level of, realization that maybe you should back off a little bit, and he did. He's still doubling down, but he's not really putting it out there as much as Julia, with all of the things that she said recently about how she has no regrets about what she said, about no regrets about the commercial that she participated in, and also no regrets about all of the backlash and criticism that she is getting, but she is frustrated about it at the same exact time. Explain that. So, interestingly enough, I think that Universal and Columbia, they made the right move here. They made the ultimate decision that I think is a step in the right direction. Look, I do have my concerns, or should I say criticisms, about some of these studios across the board. And by far, I think that, when you look at Warner Brothers, when you look at Universal and Columbia, and many more, they are beginning to have some level of common sense, alright? They're not fully recovered yet, and it's going to take so many years, and many, many years, to fully recover, because everyone's really done with Hollywood at this point. Nobody wants to deal with a lot of these actors and actresses. Maybe when you get new talent that has nothing to do with DEI, or anything to do with any kind of an agenda, and not getting too involved in politics, or at all, quite frankly, and you make a successful franchise or a successful original film that's not rehashed, garbage, then I think that, the film industry could slowly but surely heal, but it's going to take a very long time, and that's saying a lot. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.